Hey, what's up, folks, and welcome back for another Halo review, episode 7, Inheritance. Terrell and I are here to do what we do best, breaking down this episode. Now, I knew you all loved episode 6 so much, and everybody was just like, oh, it was so great. Kwan Ha wasn't in it, etc., etc., etc. And now we got a full episode of Kwan Ha, and I know you are going to slander this one out of the gym. And that's fine, but I'm not going to do that. But in this episode, we do continue to get more about Kwan Ha's family, the backstory of her family, the importance of protecting Madrigal, and as she does a lot of self-discovery, trying to find her purpose. It's a little bit of a revelation for herself here. And Soren kind of just doing what he does best. He is the Han Solo of this world. You know what I mean? He goes around, he collects bounties, he talks his story. You know, some people like him, some people don't like him. You know, he does what he does, but he is respected. He is considered a threat if you're on the opposite end. He can hold his own. He may be a slick talker, but he is about his business. And while he's kind of just wiping his hands clean with Kwan Ha because of the whole little incident that they had the last time we seen them, he realized that, like, nah, she's a lot more trouble than he could imagine. And now Venture has tripled the bounty, and all roads are looking to him. And then, you know, it piques his interest for two things. I mean, on one token, it's like, all right, well, this may be a financial gain. She still does owe him two things. But ultimately, we see what's the important thing in this episode is the camaraderie between Soren and John. And he said that he was going to protect her, and that trumped everything. He put his self pride, his self interest, and all that to the side to say, like, this is the goal. And I think, you know, we could talk about Soren, who escaped the Spartan program and kind of living his best life on the wild side. But I think that by, you know, getting a look into John's past, and we see, you know, sort of these kids who are identified for the Spartan program, just how loyal they were to one another. And I think that that's the overall theme, whether you're in the program, whether you're out the program, these folks are extremely loyal to one another. This is why, like, yeah, it's absolute brotherhood, and not even just brotherhood, because we've seen how he went after Kai, and he said, listen, forget the I'm about to call it the relic, the artifact. I gotta protect her, and that's just what it's going to be. And I think, you know, this is just another example of saying that, like, while we don't see Soren, you know, immediately interacting with that pack, he's in that conversation. He's deadly. He can hold his own, but he's loyal. He's loyal to the bond, to the word. You know, he may not like the Spartan program. He sure as hell wouldn't like Dr. Housley, but but like, when it comes down to these troops and their camaraderie amongst one another, that's across the board. And I think that, like, you know, that's what kind of made this episode kind of rotate, because to me it wasn't a lot that went on in this episode, but you know, that's kind of my assessment. But Terrell, what's your overall thoughts about the episode, and what did we learn from this episode?
Man, I knew minutes into watching this, people was gonna be mad. You know what I mean? This was gonna be a Kwan-filled adventure. You know, Kwan and Soren adventures. And you know, they give you a little bit more insight as to what was going on. With, you know, they give you like a two years in the past for both of the characters, Soren and Kwan, and give you, you know, kind of insight as to like what the type of people that they are, especially Soren. You see, you know, 100%, he is a man of his word. You know what I mean? Like, you can say whatever you want about him. If he tell you he gonna do something, he gonna do it. If, you know, when he said he was gonna protect her, he did it. So, you know what I mean? Money aside, you know, feeding his family aside, you know, everything else, he's going to take care of his obligations. And like I said, we get that little insight in the past with him beefing with one of his lackeys, and him trying to step up and be boss, and it didn't work out too well. And then we see, you know, just kind of more of like what kind of a person Kwan's father was, and, you know, the people that he kept around him. Because, you know, of course, episode 1, we see him get the whole town get obliterated. So it was a really good episode. I mean, I feel like it was a lot going on, and it was a lot of resolution from a story that I think we can definitely move away from finally and get to like the meat and potatoes of some Halo. So we can put this to rest.
Yeah. Couple other things, assessments for me. This episode had potential to be way more brutal than what it was, and it wasn't. You know, anytime there's guns and bullets flying around or whatever it may be, alien tech, things get pretty gory, and I think they swayed away from it. So this felt like the most un-Halo episode of them all because of that. Because the first episode we was like, yo, this is intense, you know, and I didn't ever feel that way about it. So I really do think they really specifically, as you said, tie some knots on some things they were kind of just left open, but truly worked on. And I know you all ain't gonna like it, but they worked on the character development. They had to let us know more about Kwan and her family and the importance of her family to this land. Also, should we say that the witches of the sand, and where do they play into it? Because they kind of build them up a little while. But also, like I said, Soren. I think there's been so much assumption as to who he is. And I mean, like, yeah, I jokingly say, you know, he's the Han Solo of Halo, but right. I think
definitely shot first.
Huh?
So he definitely shot first.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like, he's not motivated strictly only by money. Right. I think the circumstances changed and his psychology about it changed as well, too. His ideology, should I say, behind it changes as well. And like, and it's kind of funny because like there was a little bit of like good karma that came about it. Like the moment he took his mind away from the money, then he got his money. He was like, and Kwan just got super lucky in so many coincidental things. But I think that also, I think what I learned from that is that it speaks to like the spirit of her family. I feel like
she was having an Avatar moment there. She's having I was like, okay, that's what we doing.
or a Rey moment of we are all the Jedi. Like everybody kind of came back. It was just like, yeah, we're always here with you. You know what I mean? And you know, yeah, it's just a lot of those different things that kind of happen in it. So like for me, I feel like a lot of the tropes and conventions of this episode are highly familiar with things you've seen in other things. So like, again, for folks already not liking Kwan saying she's annoying and whatnot, fine.
She's barely been in the show. Like,
you know,
this is probably the most screen time she's had probably in the entire season so far.
Yeah.
What is that to complain about? Like,
but I can say, because I think we're all going to agree here, I absolutely loved doing her training with the witches, about managing her rage. Master Chief washing her 10, 20 rounds. He was just washing her, just getting her ass up out of there. But you know,
brutality, like and that's unfair to say too, because I mean, like that first episode is like superhumans versus aliens. So I mean, you definitely going to get that level of like brutality, like that I forgot what you said, but like the violence in that episode would be more intensified versus like two people versus an army, and then basically playing, you know, Home Alone through her backyard. You know what I mean? Like that's basically what was going on. Like they were setting up a trap. So yeah. I mean, Soren held it down, man. I gotta get that gun. I gotta get like a model of that gun. That gold was like a Desert Eagle. No, yeah. it was like a
futuristic Desert Eagle.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
It reminds me of a gun from another game, and I can't think of what it is.
Destiny. That's also a Bungie product.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. You're absolutely right. There you go. But yeah, Master Chief washing her during her training was just the most hilarious thing. But like, you know, I'm glad that we did get some type of clarity and closure as to the significance of the witches, the significance of the land. Why was her dad considered dangerous and the threat, and what correlation did he have with the witches and whatnot? And I think this is truly just like much. It's an exact identical process of what Kwan went through, and the self-discovery of her bloodline or her family name, and just generations of folks who protected this land. And even with the lack of like loyal troops at times, like still the ability to just be like a leader and taking matters into your hand. And you know, Venture played the ultimate price, but like he knew what it was. He said, like, you know, as long as she's around, or as long as she's alive, she's a threat. And if she gets to the witches, it's a problem. And thus she became a problem. Now, I'm not going to sit here and perpetrate like I thought this was the most perfect episode. I do think that the whole revelation of Kwan in this episode was just a tad bit unbelievable for me. Like, she went from like, I'm going to say she goes from like damsel in distress and Soren is like the muscle, to her saying like, yeah, now I'm ready to like kick ass myself and etc. So she's been a liability this entire time, which I'm sure you were probably like, oh, Soren. Matter of fact, don't even lie. Don't even lie. You knew Soren. You were feeling Soren was going to die this episode.
I thought he was for sure. I thought he was going to get him right at the door. I was like, come on, man. But I never felt like she was a liability or she was a damsel in distress. Like, she was always ready to handle her own. Even in the first episode where, you know, she went out there to try to go help Dad, and you know, she tried to go, you know, of course, wound up seeing him get killed. But she knows how to manipulate people to get what she wants. But I never felt like she was like she needed to be saved. Like, she, you know, for her to be able to take Soren out, so it was a whole, you know, half super soldier. So,
yes, seeing Soren without his armor, that was a surprise in this episode.
What was going on with like the mutant arm out here? Like, it's just like
chill, man.
Yeah, weird.
But there's, I mean, you brought up the first episode. There's a duality to it because her being under the truck in this was sort of like where she was kind of like crippled in the sense of like, what do? I need help. But this one, you've seen her, you know, kind of take matters in her own hands. She picked up Master Chief's gun.
Yeah. Did they not pick up they weapons? They just leave this stuff that. Like, come on, bro. Just, you know how the game UNSC guns, like, come on.
You know how the game works, man. You see a new gun, you're picking that up, and you got to toss it. You only can hold 2 at a time, you know. So
with live ammo.
Yeah, and she really blew shit up. Like, she blew the entire things up, and the witches were kind of just like, approved. We knew you would do it.
They still left a lot on the table when it came to the whole witch revelation, though. Because I mean, of course, they, you know, gave her the herbal tea that opened up her mind. You know, open up her chakras, but it's still a lot to be try to figure out what are the secrets of that planet and what does she have to unlock that we still haven't gotten yet. So, like I said, if we ever get back to it within the rest of the season, because I'm pretty sure the rest is going to be on John and the crew, but it's still a lot there on that planet to figure out what's going on and the whole politics of now that Venture is gone.
Yeah, who also was just completely irrelevant. Not a big threat at all, and
they built it up in episode 1 too. Like,
I appreciate what's his name, like, demeanor as like a villain. Like, I believed it, but like, man, did it not deliver and supposed to be like a threat towards Kwan who washed this whole squad. Soren and her washed this whole squad. I was expecting a little bit more dramatics in that, and we went up in flames. I thought that was shot beautifully. And it's cool, but maybe I would have liked to be a little bit more invested into that, but that's a little bit nitpicking.
A little bit more back and forth instead of just one. Okay,
yeah.
Would it still being episodes on the table?
Yeah, and Madrigal at this point now, I think Madrigal, however you say it, folks. You might as well just consider it's a military base. And if you know anything about military bases, they have a bunch of natural fuels and whatnot stored under them. And that's sort of the same thing here. Fuel equals money and opportunities, whatever it may be. But I think the biggest question is understanding what the portal is. And that's, I guess, what you're saying is kind of leaving more on the table about that. So, you know, we have to kind of see how that plays out. All right, so anywho, now, you know, conclusion of this episode, Soren is on his way, got to ship you guys money. Kwan has Master Chief's gun, and I guess she found her purpose, and that's to protect her land. And I guess this brings her peace that she's able to fulfill her father's legacy and all the other folks who have failed casualty of her very selfish planning that she's had over this season. So, you know, is this the last of her right now? Think so. But I think other danger may be on the way there because there's still the idea of what this portal is. The Covenant coming with, you know, and to come back potentially, you know, maybe this is all connected and we'll kind of see how that kind of plays a part. But then Soren, you know, Soren is going to probably, I mean, I guess in a sense he did protect her, so I guess he did do his due diligence and he's done. But you know, we'll see if that's is satisfactory to Master Chief, or does that also at some point brings him back
I think Chief got his own problems right now to be worried about what Soren doing. Soren about to get paid, about to feed his family and the crew. So, luckily, I can say I was wrong. He actually did get a ship. he got his money. I thought they was going to get him this episode, and it was alluding to it, like we slow crawling to the door, and I'm like, man, he gonna shoot him up. But I'm happy to be wrong. I'm happy to see my man Bokeem survive in a series and keep it going, and have like I said, a badass scene. Took out at least 10 or 20 people. I lost count.
Yeah,
so it was a really good scene. Kwan had a little couple too. So no haters, you need to stop. She got her kills. Hopefully, like I said, this is definitely the last you're gonna see a Kwan for a little while. Maybe Soren will come back into play, but I won't be too sure. Right. We only got like two or three left, maybe episode. So
yeah, that's true. So yeah, Soren. And his business he has seems to be satisfied, and Kwan finding out the true purpose and more about the family and the land. I think that's it. So, but folks, let us know everything you did not like about this episode, because I knew you're going to do that. But for the folks that loving it or are still watching it and enjoying these reviews, definitely chime in the comments below, hitting that like button. You have to already be subscribed by now, folks. Come on now. But if you haven't, please do so, and we'll be back each and every week with more reviews, recaps, discussions, and breakdowns of Halo and other shows as well. But we will be here for Halo next week. So yeah, folks, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you back soon.
See you.